Hi, this is Carson with Troy, and I have with me freelance artist Katie Payne. Katie, thank you so much for getting on with me. Katie, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, and go ahead and tell us a little bit about your educational background.
Okay, a little bit about me. I am from Northern Virginia, from the DC area. I went to school in DC for 2 years at an art school. It's called the Corcoran College of Fine Art before I transferred to BYU. So then I went to BYU and I graduated from there, from the illustration program. That's my education.
Nice. So, I've talked to multiple artists, and some of them have gone into like graphic design for art. Some just have a high school background, and they're phenomenal artists. Why did you decide to go into illustration?
I have been drawing all of my life. I um but when I went to BYU, that was basically the option. It was, do you want to do fine art or do you want to illustrate? And fine art turns into like abstraction, and that totally was not my thing. I'm very literal with what I'm drawing.
So, were you one of these kids that always had a notebook and a pencil with you that were not paying attention in class and stuff?
I was one of those kids. I was getting in trouble. I was drawing all over my homework. I draw all over my arms. I draw all over my clothes, my notebooks, it was, I was very much known for it in school.
I love that
Yeah.
because it's just so
Yeah.
fun, and being able have that talent to being able to do that, I think is amazing. Like I would draw like stick figures and straight lines and stuff. Like I wasn't drawing. I wish I had. I think it's to some extent it's a talent, but I think a lot like you put in the hours and the work to draw like you
Hmm.
do and to illustrate like you do, which is fantastic. Um, I'll show this. I don't know when this the YouTube video will come out. But for those of you who don't know, Katie, she does illustrations. This is Shalon from the Stormlight Archive. She does amazing work. Um, Go ahead and why did you choose? I mean, I went to FanX. I met you. You do a lot of stuff for I don't know for Brandon's house, but like a lot of fan art, Mistborn, Stormlight Archive.
Yeah.
What drew you to that?
Like, why am I drawing all of Brandon's stuff all the time?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I for as long as I've been making art, it's been of franchises, of shows that I was absolutely obsessed with. I wasn't like normal about it. It would consume me, my love, and then it would turn, because I was drawing, it would turn into drawing. It was just like the outlet for my love. So Brandon's books, it hit me, that obsession with them, like 10 years ago when I first read Mistborn. It just, that same bug just hit me and it just consumed me. I loved his books so much. So it just felt natural to be drawing it. That's what I've been doing my whole life.
So
And
sorry to interrupt. What were some of the early
uh,
ones that you were just obsessed with that you would draw? Just out of
oh,
curiosity.
the first one was Sailor Moon.
Okay.
Did you see that show?
No, I have not. I know of Sailor Moon, but I have not seen it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was the first one. And oh my gosh, I was obsessed. Just like drawing it all the time and just being a huge nerd about it in school and getting picked on, because it was just obvious I was such a nerd. And but that was like the first one. But following that, when I got older, I still was into anime, so it was like Naruto and One Piece and Rurouni Kenshin and um Zelda Ocarina of Time, those I got my Zelda
Nice.
poster. um so it was predominantly anime for a long time, and getting into a fantasy novel series to the same degree was different for me, but again, it's been 10 years now, so now it's normal.
Well, and when you're obsessed with anime like you were, you have references to go off of. So like you have things to reference as you're drawing and stuff. With novels, you don't have that. So when you were
That's true.
so what's some of your process when when you're drawing Kelsey or Vin or Kaladin, like what are some of your process to recreate that character?
That's a really good point. With anime, you're drawing the characters you're seeing, literally. With, yeah, these fantasy novels, it was really different. It's harder. You have to completely on top of a good creative idea, a good scene, all the things that come with heart, like composition, lighting, all those things. You have to literally make up the character.
Yeah,
And that aspect of it, like when I post my drawings online, people will scrutinize that more than anything because people will say that's not how I pictured that character, or they'll say that's absolutely how I pictured that character, and that's part of why people love it so much, like why they love this type of fan art so much, because it's something to look at.
right.
Yeah,
It kind of solidifies the character in their head because now they can have a representation, a drawing of it, and be like, yes,
exactly.
that's how I do it. So, what do you like? Do a deep dive into the character to make sure you get the aspects right, or do you go through like a bunch
um
of different versions?
I think because I love the book so much, I've already spent so many hours picturing them that when I start drawing, I don't need to like well, I'll explore in one drawing. I'll like I drew like when I was drawing Kelsier's face and that one I have of Kelsier, I for hours and hours obsessively shaped his face until it was the Kelsier I have seen in my head. It was like that's him. That's him. So it is kind of an obsessive, like I just want to see them too. I'm just like I want to see it. So yeah, that's part of the labor of love with this type of fan art.
No, and you do a fantastic job. And when I saw,
Thanks.
I think Kaladin, I was like, yep, that's Cal. Like
Right?
that's
Like
who I
that's
pictured.
Cal.
Yeah. Even my son, he was obsessed. He went by your booth a couple times. I think you were busy, but so he couldn't talk to you. But he's obsessed with the Stormlight Archive, or as am I, and he just loved your work. And he's going to go to Dragon Steel Con with me,
Oh,
so
is
I think he's
he?
going to pick up some stuff from you. Then he's
Oh,
excited.
come say hi. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the Kaladin one I also obsessed. I wanted him to look exactly like I pictured. But I think that's part of why Dragonsteel, like Brandon's company, I think that's part of why they like me because they just like that I seem to just like get things fast, because I'm a fan.
Right.
hmm
No, do you work mainly through like Photoshop? What's your favorite medium to work with?
Um, so I used Photoshop for a really long time, and I would use my uh tablet, and it's sitting over here unused because I now use my iPad because my iPad is so awesome now. Like in the 10 years that I've been professional, technology has progressed to the point where you can just work on an iPad.
That's amazing.
And it's amazing technology because you didn't used to be able to travel with your digital painting. This is just like opened so many doors. So yeah,
No,
that's what I
it
use. I use the iPad on the Procreate.
no, and that's amazing. One thing I like about this, and some people might disagree, but I love programs like Photoshop on your iPad and whatnot because you don't have to mess around with charcoal or oil paint or whatever. You don't have to have it space in your room. Like you said, you can travel with it, and the stuff that you can create, it's so well done and so realistic
Yeah.
that it's like, why not?
I do think fine art is more respectable in terms of art, but and I have a lot of like I'm friends with like Howard Lyon, right? And he will paint his paintings, and I think that's awesome. And I kind of feel like I'm just more of just a different brain. I'm not so like artsy. I'm just like a nerd, and it's just faster and easier to do it digital. So I'm doing it digital. I don't care if it's not in a gallery. My goal was to see Kaladin, and now I see him, and I'm happy.
Right, and like I said, like there's nothing wrong with those different mediums, and I think they're fantastic. Like I love oil paintings, I love the texture of them and stuff. Even
Hmm.
watercolors, I just love. But I
Hmm.
think there's just so much freedom with digital art that you can do to where um,
A lot of
people,
freedom.
yeah, people like me who if I don't have space for all that stuff, and I got little kids that can knock stuff down and stuff. So like I wanted to do any art form, it would be digital because of that freedom, that
Hmm.
being able to not only that is I would mess up a ton, and digital art is so
Hmm.
much easier to fix than an
Hmm.
oil painting or anything like that.
Yeah.
So who are some of your influences, art style wise?
Oh, I used to just have names. Um, but lately it's just kind of a messy concoction of people on Instagram who are just so good. A lot of them are primarily doing Magic the Gathering cards and completely blowing it out of the water. So I can't name them off the top of my head, unfortunately, because I just have them all saved, but I have a lot. Like influences are a huge part of my process. Just getting like that's amazing. Like I need something like that. Like that's my goal. So
Well, I think that's fantastic. As we talked about references before, other artists can influence you and inspire you and help you to recreate, not necessarily copy, but like it can spark an image in your head to do.
yeah, yeah, no, I mean definitely. And the weirdest stuff will trigger I was on Pinterest like 2 years ago and there was some digital painting just of a woman like this and that was it. That's it. You would never know. And I looked at that and I was like, I'm gonna draw all the heralds. And the first pose, like Vidal is gonna be like this. And like it doesn't look like anything aside from the vague like it's not similar, but it was that image that like ignited it. So
So
yeah.
when you're reading, Brandon Sanderson, what sort of drawings, like what sort of scenes are you reading, and you're like, oh, I want to draw this, or like what? I don't know how to
Oh
phrase that. Like, what
man.
inspires you to like pick out a certain scene and
Yeah.
draw it?
Sometimes when I pick a certain scene, it I don't want to do it all the time because in the past it's just ended up being a huge spoiler image and then I couldn't do much with it like without feeling bad. Um like when I did that one of Kaladin reaching that I can't remember second or third ideal, that the book hadn't come out that long ago and now I feel fine sharing it, but at the time it was like a spoiler. So, but anyway, what I mean to say is, when I really want to do an image, it ends up being just like a character image more so, where I just get to love and explore the character, and not so much a scene. But I want to get more into scenes because they're awesome. I don't know.
No, who's your favorite character to draw?
um.
And this doesn't have to be Stormlight Archive. Like if you have a different character that you just
Oh.
love drawing.
Oh my gosh. I just love any character that lets me do extremely long flowing something or another, so hair, be it hair or fabric. So I oh, what is her name now? I forget. Is it Leshwi? Who is the fused character that's always in the sky? Is it no, it's not Lesh. Was it
It's not less.
Leshwi? No, I can't remember.
I can't remember
I'm
either.
blanking. Yeah, anyway, that one. And she's all, in that little minifigure just came out, which confirmed it that she's just this flowing character. And oh my gosh, I want to draw her so bad. So, yeah, like favorite character, I don't know. Just get hungry for a new drawing. That's like more where my brain's at most of the time. like something new, just like, oh, I want to draw her. I want to draw her. Yeah.
Well, I can see why you would draw like flowing hair, clothes, or whatever. You know, there's just so much elegance in that to
Hmm.
where I can see the draw in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you said you've been a professional artist since 2012. Is that correct? About 10 years.
And I graduated. Yeah.
That's when you graduated. Nice. Is that when
Mhm.
you first read The Way of Kings?
I first read Mistborn and then I
Oh,
read The Way of
Mistborn and
Kings.
The Way
But
of
yeah,
Kings.
that's when I had just graduated.
So I've noticed that you've kind of world hopped a little bit, traveled around the world.
Oh, you're talking about YouTube?
Yeah, found your YouTube.
Yeah.
How how has that influenced your art?
It's invited me to just be brave. Just and to just I don't know, I guess it's enriched me too. Like a lot of these fan arts, they don't come out of nowhere. They come from somewhere really deep inside of me because they take a really long time and I work really hard on them and then I want them to look so nice. So there's some like, some artistic energy that it takes too. So traveling was just amazing. Like I went to Japan and I went to Rome and I went to Israel and it was just invigorating. Yes. So I would say it inspired me just by making me thrive.
Obviously, you know, you have your art and stuff. You're an independent freelance artist. What do you do to market your stuff? How do you you know, because you're in charge, you have to sell stuff to make a living. How do you do the marketing on that?
So for the past couple of years, I've been working with a freelance company. It's a game company that middlemans for bigger companies, and that's where a lot of my money was coming from. And so I would do that, and then I would do my fan art stuff. But as the fan art stuff is getting bigger, like I'm doing cons, um, with marketing, I mean, you just have to be on social media. You have to. I mean, Instagram is a marketing platform. That's like why anyone should be on it. It's so, yeah, as social media is for the fan art side of things. But I don't openly advertise the other stuff I'm doing because it doesn't need that. It's working itself out. So,
Right. And I've been to lots of conventions, and your booth I went by, you know, I met you there at FanX this year. And I went by a couple times and you were constantly busy. And I've seen other people's booths whose art is fantastic as well, but there's not quite as busy. How are you able to draw in the people to be successful at those conventions?
so I follow a lot of people that tell me how to make an Instagram and a lot of professionals. And I hear over and over and over again, you have to pick a niche and just stick with that. And I think like a couple of years ago, I just said it's going to be Brandon's books for me. And I think that focus probably is why like I had people at my booth. It was the people that were there for Brandon. It was a focus. It was because some people are selling some Brandon, but some not others, and they just didn't get the draw. Like it's a focus niche is like really important.
I think that's a great tip or trick if anybody that wants to do this, whether you are Naruto or um whatever, you know,
One
Brandon or
Piece, or
Terry.
yeah.
Yeah, like you could do whatever, like as long as you focus. That's a great tip or trick to find a
Well, but
niche.
that being said, there are fan artists I know that are like professional con fan artists, but their niche is everything. But they don't just have four, they have like 80.
Mm.
And but that's their thing. And so people walk up and they're just like there's a person that sat across from me last year and then they were there this year, but they weren't there. They had hired someone to run their booth and they said they're from Georgia and they travel the country and that's what they do. Like the girl is a fan artist. She's like I said, touched almost every franchise you could think of, and has
Mhm.
an image of that, and they kill it. Like they are professional. So I think that's like either hyper focus on one, which makes sense in Utah for me to do Brandon Sanderson,
Right.
or you do everything, and there's definitely room for that. So
Yeah, there is definitely room for that as long as you stand out in some way, I think. You know, when I go to
yeah.
conventions, there's lots of people doing Supermans or Batmans or Thor or whatever. But as long as you can make it unique, you know, find a niche in uniqueness, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, and you're right. And I don't know what the difference is between like that woman and those other people. I don't know.
yeah. And that's
Yeah.
when I go to conventions and I invite people on, I'm looking for uniqueness. Like everybody has there's lots of people that have, like I said,
Mm.
Batman or Superman or whatever. But if they have some unique art like you, with the Brandon Sanderson, I don't know if you know who Miranda Meeks is, but her art,
Oh yeah, I know Miranda,
yeah, like her art
yeah.
is very unique and very her style, and it's not anything else. You know, it's her own.
Yeah.
It's her own thing, and so you know our
Miranda's got
boots.
a really strong brand. She's got a
Yeah,
brand.
so you have to find what works for you, and it has to be
Mm.
unique. And this
Hmm.
podcast is all about telling stories, like telling stories with your art or with a novel or game design or whatever. And that's what I look for. Who's telling a story with their art, not just copying somebody else. Unless I have a caveat here,
Mm.
unless it's the people that are working for DC or Marvel that are actually drawing the characters, like I'll invite them on. But
Oh, right.
so you have this fan art. You started with Mistborn and you know continued on. When I'm sure I mean, being from Utah, I'm sure you've met Brandon. Um, and I
Yeah.
got that sticker Shalon from Dragon Still Entertainment. How did you meet him and show him the your art?
So, okay, here's the story. So I met him in 2017. I was working in-house at a publishing house, and they sent me to a publishing conference in Utah, and Brandon was there. And I happened to have like this fan art I did of Kaladin with me. So I showed him. And that was before Oathbringer had come out. So things were more chill, you know, and there weren't like a lot of people there. So he told me, hey, that's pretty cool. You should talk to Isaac. And Isaac's his art director. So I did. So that's how I met them. Now you fast forward to like 2020, and I got back in touch with Isaac, and he was like, oh my gosh, like I always told you I'd give you something, like, here, do you want to do some stickers? And I said, sure, you know, I'd love to do some stickers. So so I did those. And from that, I was invited to do the Dragonsteel convention last year, because they only wanted to have people that had done work for them. So I weaseled my way in with these stickers, right? And I get in there and I have all this fan art, right? And I think Isaac and Brandon were both like, oh my gosh, she's done all this fan art. And that's kind of cool. And they saw um like my ending the oath, like the one with all the heralds, and um this one. This one.
Mm,
So they invited me because like once a month Brandon holds Magic the Gathering drafts at, well, not once a month, he does it multiple times, but once a month for the certain pod. Anyway, they at his house. So that was like, oh, okay. So like for the past year, once a month, I have been going to his house and playing Magic the Gathering with him and his friends.
nice.
So that was like a whole other like level of things, because like I've just been hanging out with Brandon. Like it's literally just like hang out. It's like we goof around and we laugh about Star Wars and you know, like make jokes. Anyway, so
Well,
yeah, so like that's
this
how.
is rare. Like, you know, you're a
Oh
fan first, and you're drawing fan art, and
yeah.
then the author of your fan art is like, "Come on over."
Yeah, and I think he kind of was like, Katie won't last. Like she's just some girl, you know. But I am a huge nerd. Like I love, this is the secret about me that I showed Brandon. He was like, "Oh my gosh, like I love Yu-Gi-Oh!" And I have been
Nice.
playing like the Yu-Gi-Oh card game for like almost as long as I've been alive. Like I am obsessed with that card game, and so that game is almost one to one with Magic the Gathering. So I'm in there. I'm like, I am taking this very seriously. Like we are not talking books. We were talking Magic the Gathering. Like that's like how it's been. And so it's so I think Brandon's like, oh, like he's told me like we love hanging out with you. Like you're fun and whatever. So yeah, it is kind of funny.
No, that's awesome. And Magic the Gathering, it's a
Yeah.
fantastic game. It's inspired me. In fact, where am I? I'm always backwards. Okay, here. Those folders all right there in that bookshelf are all
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering cards.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So you're like really huge into magic?
Yeah, I love Magic. It's like Howard Lyon, like I want to meet him. I know he's going to be a Dragon Steel Con this year,
You should
so
say hi. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's a huge magic artist.
yeah, he's got some of my favorite lands. I got more cards over here. I've been playing Magic for a long time,
That's so cool.
but and that's another thing that not only is it a game, but it tells a story throughout too, with art and the text that's on the cards and
Yeah.
everything. So it's
Hmm.
fun. What other hobbies do you do? What other geeky hobbies do you do?
um, I'm really into video games. You know, I put in, you know, almost 400 hours into Animal Crossing. I've put equal into Zelda Breath of the Wild. You know, I just those are my hobbies. I just like art and I like video games. For a while I obsessively watched speed runs on YouTube. Do you know what those are?
I do not.
They're like people who try to beat games as fast as possible.
Okay.
So they'll like boundary break and they do it with Mario. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. So that was one of my hobbies for a while. I still
Well,
want to go to a live one.
you have a job, you have a husband. How do you maintain balance?
Oh my gosh, terribly. It's so hard. I'm just obsessive about my creative pursuits, and I have to very pointedly like put them away and just like be like, I'm just here. We're not doing anything creative. We're just doing nothing. It's like really hard. Hard.
So are you still that girl that has a pen and paper always that's kind of drawing and your husband's like, not
Yes.
now, honey?
Always, 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 always. Yeah, it's like wake up and yeah, yeah.
You're in a
My
restaurant and
husband,
you're drawing on the napkin.
yes, my husband's used to it though. I'm crazy. I'm like crazy.
So do you have like specific habits, like routines that you do to maintain your creativity, or are you more like a free spirit?
Wake up. I I try to put in some kind of exercise, and then I just work and 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 eat something and work, 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 work. And if no one stops me, I'll do that until like 11 p.m. Like 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. I'm like a crazy person. I'm like hearing myself. Anyway, I
Well,
just
I
love
don't.
making stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think anything's wrong with that. As long as you can,
Okay.
you get absorbed in something, long as you're passionate about it. And I don't think passion is something that um is bad. I don't think it's necessarily good. It's just you have to have passion in what you're doing, whether you're an author,
Hmm.
an artist, or whatever. And if you don't have passion, either still stick with it until passion comes back, or move on and then come back to it. I think you can do both. And it sounds like
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
passionate about what you're doing.
Well, and I went through a phase where I was sick of illustrating and I just said I'm never doing this. I hate it. And so I'm like those travel videos, I made those and those took so long, but that was like my thing for like a year. Was I just edited videos. But yeah, and then I went back to art and I'm happy again. So we made peace.
So do you have any geeky, not geeky, do you have any non-geeky hobbies that you kind of do to maintain balance? Or you
Like
just,
what's a hobby?
I don't know, do you go
Like
hiking or watch
mm,
movies or other? I'm not
I
asking if that's,
mean,
I'm just giving examples.
yeah, it's hard because like
It sounds
if
like
I'm
you're just
watching a
obsessed.
movie, yeah, like if I'm watching a movie, I want to be on my iPad drawing. If I'm hiking, I'm just looking around thinking, oh, I could draw this or I could use this for photo reference or so. But I have a dog now. I like my dog. I do stuff with my dog.
Something different to keep you sane. You know, because
Yeah.
you talked about you were kind of burned out. So I was just wondering if you had anything to help prevent you from burnout.
Uh,
You're kind of like me. You just kind of do this all the time.
I just kind of do it all the time. All the time.
No.
If my husband was here, he'd be like, he does this all the
For
time.
anybody that's starting out on their artist journey, do you have any tips or tricks
Um,
or any just general advice?
if you're starting out, well, I would say do what you love, because what you're doing, I mean, do they want to be professional? If you want to be professional, what you're doing is what you'll get hired to do. So just do what you love. I think when I graduated, someone had told me, "Oh, don't do what you love." Like, and so I kind of steered away from that and that was a mistake. So I don't recommend that. Just do what you love and just let the consequences follow.
So, I mean, you don't, you have your fan art side, but you also have your freelance side. You said you were working for a publisher. Do you have any advice for people that are looking for that route to get hired on?
I would say if you want to get hired, just focus on social media, become a professional social media manager because that's just how people get hired nowadays. It's a flooded market and they have their people. Just focus on doing what you love and posting online and trying to build a following and then from that like things will come. It's kind of hard. You have to just pretend like you don't care, that you're just doing it for fun. You just have to totally this is I don't care if no one ever hires me or likes what I'm doing. You just got to keep doing it for a long time sometimes.
No, and I think what you said, and this is kind of roundabout reading between the lines things is, it kind of sounds like you kind of have to separate yourself from your work. You put your heart and soul into it,
Yeah.
but there's going to be, like you said earlier, like people that critique your work saying that's not what Gallatin looks like, or some people, and you kind of can't take offense to that. Like if you're putting stuff on the internet, people are going to criticize and praise it, so you kind of have to
Oh
separate that.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Especially they'll just be like, that's not what they look like. But I'm just like, oh well. Like if I drew it wrong, that hurts me more because that was like a technical skill aspect of it that I failed at.
But your imagination is
Yeah.
going to be different than mine or the person down the
Yeah.
street or whatever, so that's okay.
I'm
If
like, okay, sure. If you imagine it differently, that's fine. Yeah.
so, what's been the coolest thing that's happened to you as a fan artist of the Stormlight Archive and Mistborn and the Cosmere?
Um, well, I mean, it's been hanging out with Brandon. That, that was so cool. And being invited, I mean, doing these Dragonsteel cons, and I'm still looking forward to some other things that are my favorite things that will be in the future.
No, that's
So yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I was looking some of your social media, and you posted people who dressed up as some of your drawings. I thought were kind of cool.
Yeah, those Shalons.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, that was really cool. Yes. I mean, yes, like the fans. Yes, like uh the fans, like that meeting them and and having them get really excited and to buy my work and to have Brandon sign it. And I mean, that's been really, really, really cool too. Just really cool. I love it.
So did you ever think like people are going to pay me money for my art when you were drawing on your pants and everything?
I really didn't think so. I didn't, it kind of dawned on me one day, maybe I should start selling this and maybe people will buy it. And then every time someone buys it, I'm like, oh my gosh, they bought it. That was crazy. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
how do you fight imposter syndrome? What do you do?
Oh. No, I know that I'm an imposter. I don't fight it. I just embrace it. I'm just like, no, I don't quite know what I'm doing, but like I know that I love this and that it's a good thing. So yeah, I never feel imposter. I'm just like, nope,
No,
yep, you figured it out. I don't know what I'm doing.
well,
Yeah.
everybody that I saw at your booth, had smiles on their faces and they were pointing. Like they all have different memories from the books. They were like, oh yeah, like,
Hmm.
and so that's I would imagine a great feeling when you see fans light up when they see your work.
Oh my gosh, it's just incredible and meeting cool. I mean, when you're a nerd and you grow up and people kind of I got bullied, you know. I mean, not all the time. My story is not like I was bullied, but like I did get bullied because I was such a nerd and like weird about it. So it feels amazing to have like a lantern for all the like-minded people and they mock to me and we get to talk. Like I think it's so cool. Like people come to me and then they tell me, "Oh my gosh, we've read the Silmarillion. Like our whole family's read the Silmarillion." I'm just like, "That's the coolest thing ever! Like you read the Silmarillion. Like you're one of the rare cool people that I always wanted to know, and I'm glad to know you."
Katie, thank you for your time today. Will you tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and a hold of some of your art?
Okay, so you can type in art of Katie Payne. And I have Instagram and TikTok, same thing. And um, I have a Reddit. It's Hergel. Anyway, so yeah, you can follow me on Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. I learned a lot from you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Troy Podcast. Please subscribe, like, and share with your friends.